All right, everybody, welcome back to Fat Stacks College Basketball Edition. All right, this is the stir that stirs this podcast drink. This is what we live on. This is the glue of this podcast, college basketball. So we're going to get started on tomorrow's slate. All right. And so let's go. ACC, good matchup. NC State at Duke. Duke favored by 5.5, over under 145.5. I'm going to start out with this one. We're going to preview each conference tournament, but I'm a little sneak peek. One team I really like in the ACC is NC State. So I like NC State to cover this 5.5 here quite a bit. Might be my favorite play of the day tomorrow, to be honest with you. So NC State plus 5.5 for me.
I really like NC State, and the only thing I dislike about this is how good Duke is at home. I will put it that way. They haven't lost, which is just a crazy stat that I don't know how I feel about. So that one I will probably put on the back burner until tomorrow, and I think that line might shift more like 6.5, 7. Then
Oh,
I would do it. But if it goes any opposite way, I think 5.5 is pretty much right at that line right now. I don't really have a lean on that one right now.
yeah.
All right, I told the guys I'm not too prepared on some of these matchups. So I'm just going to rip it on something else. I am so happy that the Blue Bloods are struggling this year, minus Kansas. Thanks, Garrett. But Duke is like 2-5 against ranked teams this year. Okay, you look at you look at their non-conference schedule this year. Wasn't as strong as usual, and they were losing non-conference games that really mattered. They lost to Kansas early in the year. They had another one. Um, Xavier
They
wasn't
lost,
ranked.
they lost to Purdue.
It was Purdue, yeah. So I mean, Purdue started off like 15-1, so that's understandable. But I mean, you look at they haven't had many quality wins. We talked about North Carolina. I think they're at 0 quad one wins right now, unless they got one on Saturday. So
Yeah, one.
love to see the Blue Bloods struggle, and not very familiar with NC State, but I will be fading Duke, depending on what they do the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of sticking in that ACC conference, it's not very, the ACC is not very high level, I would say, at the top, but they're all just kind of middle of the road, all just kind of right there. And honestly, and we could talk about this when we talk about the ACC. North Carolina beating Florida State. Florida State is okay, average, maybe below average, depending on how you look at it. Getting a win against Florida State, North Carolina is probably going to make the tournament if they win a couple games in the ACC tournament. And that's just the way it is. I mean, I'm just going to tell you that's going to happen. If they make the semifinal of the ACC tournament, they're getting in the tournament.
My bet will not pay off then.
I know you have a bet of North Carolina not making the tournament, but they're kind of getting hot at the right time. And I know they're
They've
not.
looked better.
They do look a lot better. Hubert Davis has finally got it. The Kings figured out all the way until pretty much March now. But um, I do think they're kind of a dark horse team, maybe not to like win it, but to like really make some noise because, I mean, you saw what they could do. And it's pretty much the same lineup as last year when they can get hot. I mean, they made the national championship game. So, I mean, I think that North Carolina is a team. Anyway, sticking the ACC, kind of went off track there. Clemson at Virginia. Virginia minus 6.5, over under 129.5. Fisher, we'll start you off on this one.
He's starting with me. You know what? I'm going off track again. Louisville. Let's talk about Louisville because I watched the first 3 games of their season. They were on ESPN. They were playing nobodies. They were all at home. I think they started off 0-4 at home. Have we ever seen a recent champion? They won the championship 10 years ago. Be this bad in college sports ever, any sport. 4-25.
Can I tell you something, Fisher? They didn't win. It's off the record book. They didn't win.
Well, they won.
No, they didn't. It's off. It's vacated. Nobody won.
Luke Hancock, lights out. Was it Peyton Siva there that year? Was he
I
their
don't
point
know.
guard?
Was
It's been
Kevin
a while.
Ware on that team?
Or was that? No, that might have been a year or two after when that happened.
They just like strippers a little bit too much. All right. And so 4-25, you reap what you sow. Rick Pitino, moving on to Iona. But I do agree that we haven't seen a team like that struggle that bad. I don't think it's been a long time. Like
I
it,
just don't because so Florida State,
like
like the
has like
football,
Butler been bad? You know what I mean? Like has Butler been like that's like but they didn't win. They made the national.
yeah, they got second 2 years. But like you look at football, like Florida State, they won like 10 years ago. They were really bad last year, but they weren't like 1-11, you know?
Yeah,
So it's just weird.
they're really bad 2 years ago. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it 2 years ago they were bad?
Yeah, they were pretty bad 2 years ago.
Yeah, they weren't
I'm
very
trying
good
to think of
last.
another champion like teams like they're kind of all around like Oregon in college football. Like I feel like they kind of like fell off after they made the national championship game against Florida State, and then was that year? Yeah, because Marcus Mariota versus Jameis Winston,
Yeah, so that was
and then I'm trying to think like LSU kind of fell off like after the first one in 2008.
LSU was off. I'm trying to think of any basketball teams.
Basketball like Kansas in
Syracuse,
2008
Syracuse,
after Kansas.
yeah.
I don't know.
But anyway, and then by the way, Virginia got knocked off by Boston College on Saturday, so this will be a
Yeah.
good bounce back spot for them.
Yeah.
I think they're still ranked like 13th, so they'll be fine.
Yeah. Can we talk about that for a second?
They're
I
ranked
want
six
to talk
actually,
about
aren't
that.
they?
No, they're 13th.
Okay,
But
well, that's wrong on
ha-
my thing.
ha-
Yeah.
that was it was Monday. It probably just updated today.
Okay.
Anyways, how is this team still 13th?
They're not very good. I don't think they're like in any
This
I
might
don't think they're a top 15 team at all.
they beat Baylor and they beat Illinois earlier in the season, but ever since then you've lost to Houston, which isn't a bad loss. They lost to Miami, lost to Pitt, lost to Virginia Tech, lost to Boston College, lost to UNC. Like I mean, and they don't beat anybody by a lot. Like they really don't. Like they barely beat Louisville, they barely beat Notre Dame. Uh you barely beat Wake Forest, and the game they beat Virginia Tech, they barely beat them. I just don't like this team very much, and I think Hunter Tyson, PJ Hall is going to give Virginia a little bit of fits in this one. So, but what was the line at, Tyler? Do you know?
6.5.
Oh, I will take Clemson plus 6.5 for sure, unless
I agree with you.
especially
Yeah.
especially with Virginia. Like Virginia's a defensive team, they like to make it a little bit of a you know slower pace. I mean, on average, they're only putting up like 68 points a game, and all their points against is 60.6. But I mean, that's an 8 point spread. But I think this Clemson team's pretty good. I think they're going to keep them within at least 6.5.
No, yeah, I agree. I really can't say much on this game because I mean, I just pretty much I just repeat what Garrett said. So, plus 6.5 on the Clemson Tigers there. Um, here we go. The Big Ten. Fisher might know a little bit more about the Big Ten now. Here we go, Fish. We got Iowa at Indiana. Indiana minus 5.5. Over under 155.5. Iowa coming off that emotional win, overtime win, comeback win against Michigan State. And so I just don't. I think Bloomington. In Bloomington, I love Indiana. I'll be honest, I really love them. Trace Jackson Davis, Mike Woodson. I love Indiana just as a whole. I love them in the spot, and I'll be honest, I love them. And I'm gonna put this in right now. Indiana to make the Final Four plus 600.
I'm not opposed to that. Like
And
Trish Jackson Davis is a dog.
and let me tell you something. He's gonna be a big part of it. Big part of it. And so I like Indiana to make the Final Four. Another team I like to make the Final Four. We'll talk about it maybe a little later, but Marquette to make the Final Four. I really enjoy that pick as well because they're pretty salty too. That's plus 700. And so for Marquette to make the Final Four. But I like Indiana a lot better to make the Final Four, and I like them to cover this game minus 5.5. Trace Jackson Davis. If Zach Edey didn't have such a tear at the beginning of the year, I think he's probably second in National Play of the Year at this point. But I think he might see a little push for him to get National Player of the Year, maybe in the national media, because he's been I mean just a dog on this team, and I really like Indiana the spot, and shout out to all the haters on Mike Woodson. I might have been one of them. We're not going to talk about it though. When he got hired at Indiana, because he's turned the program around, he's made it pretty relevant. Basketball, there's no place better then basketball in the Midwest that gets people fired up. Illinois, Indiana, where it all started, that gets the people going. That gets the locker room fired up. Indiana -5.5.
I'm with you on the Indiana -5.5. This Iowa team, man, I'm not gonna lie. You talked about the emotional win. I might have had Michigan State money line in that game, and I might have been pretty ticked off when they were up 13
Can I tell you
points.
something? I had Iowa -5.5.
Oh my God, I I I might have had Michigan State money line from the very get go at like +1 whatever. I was pretty ticked off. I'll put it that way.
How do you like
It's Indiana.
how do you like McCaffrey just staring that ref down?
I'm not gonna lie. And Fish can attest to this. I sent a video in the group chat. I was dying. I thought it
I
was
don't like it.
hilarious.
I don't
I
like
didn't
it,
like
man.
it, but I thought it was hilarious.
Like, what is that ref doing? Just sitting there taking that? You know what I mean? Just let him know.
I don't know. I don't know how he didn't get teed up. I really don't. He was yelling at that ref before that, and
I
then
mean,
did
we
that.
saw
I
it.
really don't.
We saw it in a 3A regional game. A ref just taking the blows, and
Yeah,
it's like, what are you doing? You have all the
sometimes,
he has
yeah,
he
you
has
need,
no leverage in that, little. We're not going to say the person, but in this 3A game that we were boots on the ground at, I've heard, and Fisher, you probably had a better angle, but I heard that this certain coach grabbed the ref's whistle.
I don't know if he did that, but
That's what I've been
that
hearing.
is one of those things where you were like, you're yelling like, you're a grown man. How much more of this are you to take from another grown man before you put him in his place?
Yeah.
Like we see it at the collegiate level, high school, we see it in junior high. So yeah, I didn't like the McCaffrey thing at all. I mean, it gets clicks, and I don't know.
I think
Uh,
that he was just trying. And here's the thing: he already got a T in the game, and so I think the ref was just trying to. Okay, they're down by 10. There's a minute or so left, maybe a little bit more than a minute and 20 seconds. Let's just get this game over with. Instead of giving him another T, let's just get this game over with. I get it as an official. I mean, I am an official. I get it. Like to kind of get the game over with and just like they're down by 10.
And that would
Like
have made all the difference. They wouldn't have won if that,
I know, and that's the thing.
more
Like,
points in the ball.
but here's the thing. Like, but then like you're in a position because if he keeps doing it and they keep drilling threes right in people's mouths, and so now they're down by 3 and he gets after it and you team up. Now you've impacted the game in a lot more way than you would have if you're down by 10.
That's
You know what I mean?
and
so
I get standing up for your guys, but I just thought that was a bit much.
And the thing was, he didn't say a word, but like it was just so like it just felt very like disrespectful towards the official. And I get that like people get in the moment, people get like competitive, people get fired up, but like he just stared him down, and that official just kind of standing there just made him just kind of like like to let McCaffrey know like you just need to ring him up right there. I think to let him,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
here, I'll give you my 2 cents on this game. If I was a betting person, which I am, I'm leaning Indiana -5.5. I will take that and the under because if Indiana wins by 5.5 points, it will be under 155.5 points if I was a betting person. And if Iowa wins, it will be, or Iowa makes it close, it will be over 155.5, just the way this Iowa team plays. So that would be just my 2 cents. I would parlay it. I could honestly put both those in. I'd probably, yeah, I mean, either one wins, I win money. I was looking at it, and pretty much every single time it goes over when Iowa wins. If Iowa wins, they go over that total. So
Right.
And by the way, Hooch Stefano was the best player in that game. He dropped 35. So I mean, Trace Jackson Davis is great as we know, and but talking about Hooch Stefano is one of the best second options in the country. He proved it on the national stage last night or on Saturday.
That's a good point. All right, going to the Big 12, Texas Tech at Kansas. Kansas -9.5. Don't really got a lot to say about this game. Big 12 always tough. At Kansas, they're pretty good at home, and but I don't like the 9.5 here. I think it's too much. I like Texas Tech +9.5.
I'm not betting this because either Texas Tech will play us really close or it won't even be a game. Like it won't. It's one of those two. I promise you. Like Texas Tech, there will not be this line at 9.5. Like, I don't think it'll be close to 9.5. I think it'll be over 15 or under 5. The point differential in this game. That's just generally how Texas Tech's played this year. I mean, they've played a lot better here lately. I mean, they went on a 4-game win streak, beating Kansas State. They beat Texas. They beat West Virginia. They beat Oklahoma. They just lost to TCU by 1. I mean, let's just be honest. This team's getting its dogs going at the right time. Kevin Banner's kind of showing up to the party in some sort of way right now. So I think this is going to be a lot closer. I'd probably take the plus 9.5, but I can't be a Kansas fan, obviously. So I normally just don't bet Kansas games. That's just a smart thing for me to do. So I won't be touching this one.
Garrett, did your boy get out coached by Bob Huggins on Saturday?
No, we
Only a
still
2-point
won.
game.
It was. Let's just be honest. I hate playing West Virginia because West Virginia always plays the stuff. West Virginia is like our non state rival, is how I would put it. You have Kansas State, which we hate, but we just like for some reason West Virginia. If you look back on year after year, we never kill West Virginia. Like we never do.
It's just because the Bob Huggins look. I mean, he's in a windbreaker every time. He's sitting on a stool. It's just the overall swagger of Bob Huggins. I think that gets you.
I will tell you the one thing that's really promising right now in Kansas is the fact that if you look at Jalen Wilson's last couple games, he hasn't done near as much as what you would think. Like he's probably fallen off this AP Player of the Year. You know what I mean? But DeJuan Harris and Grady Dick have been awesome here lately, and Adams is a dog, and I mean Yesufu and Pettiford are coming off the bench actually playing some valuable minutes. So I like how this team's shaping up here late. I wish we had the backup big man that would contribute a little bit more, but I can't complain so far.
Yeah, I mean, if we want to. We can move on to the SEC. We can go Arkansas at Tennessee. Last game we're going to talk about for tomorrow's slate, just real quick. Or maybe Fisher can talk about it a little more since he's a Tennessee fan. But I'm going to start. We all know where I stand. It's the must bust all the way, +7. In Knoxville, letting them know Arkansas has been playing a lot better lately. And to me, I think, and the must bust, he's got the team rolling. He's got the team going. We're going to play fast. Gotta get Tennessee. Get that defense spread out because they're pretty good. But I just don't trust Tennessee to put together any offensive game whatsoever for 40 minutes. So give me Arkansas +7.
Yeah, I'd probably lean that way just a little bit. The way each team's been playing here lately, Arkansas's getting a little bit more on a roll, and Tennessee's obviously had a little bit of a struggle here lately. But I'd probably take Arkansas +6.5. That'd probably be my lean.
Our offense is tough. I don't think I'm going to take us very far in the tournament. It's so hard to watch. Really struggle against Kentucky. We lost, I think, 4 in a row or four of our last 5 recently. And Arkansas, like you said, have been playing better. And our defense, they might shut down Nate Smith Jr., Ricky Council IV, those other guys on that Razorbacks team, but that offense is struggling. So I think 7 points is too much. I'm kind of with you guys there. And I was looking at the tickets for these games because Thompson Bowling Arena usually sells out. One of the better arenas in the country. Good fan base. Ticket prices are usually high. You can get tickets right now for $3.
Let's take
And
it.
this is a game that I think is going to be on ESPN tomorrow night. And
It
when
is
you
on ESPN too.
and when you compare that to Indiana's game, I think it was Indiana's game tomorrow. The lowest you could get was like $130. So that just kind of goes to show right now the Tennessee program is not where it needs to be. The offense isn't very fun to watch, and so give me Arkansas +7.
Yeah, and
Ticket price is 130.
I was
130.
I was talking to somebody today, and I said, "Listen, I said we're talking about the SEC tournament because they listen to the podcast, and a little sneak peek, we're going to be talking about the SEC conference tournament." I said, "Listen, I said if Tennessee could just have an average or maybe just a little bit above average offense, they could literally be a national championship because their defense is that good. They're ranked #1 in KenPom. They're ranked #1 in defense efficiency. for defense. And it's just like, if Rick Barnes can just like get something going on these offensive sets, like I think that this team could, I mean, go really deep, but it just doesn't seem like they can string together like 40 minutes, let alone games in a row, like just 40 minutes. You know what I mean? And so it's just tough. It's just tough to pick Tennessee because they have, the potential to be like such a just, dominant team. I wouldn't say dominant, but like just a team that can go on a deep run, and you just can't trust them with the inconsistent offense right now.
They are the 62nd ranked offense in the
Yeah.
nation.
And they're ranked number one. I don't think it's particularly close
On defense, I can tell you.
on defense.
They're a whole two points per 100 possessions
Yeah.
less than UCLA. That's pretty insane, actually.
Yeah.
But they're also four offensive points below UCLA. Yeah, I mean, that's just the one right next to them I'm looking at. I mean, there's others there,
Right. No, yeah.
but that's just kind of crazy. I didn't even see that.
So, speaking of UCLA, let's talk about the conference tournaments we're going to get in. We're going to get into the Pac-12. We're going to get into the SEC. So let's talk about the Pac-12 a little bit. I guess what would be a winner? Let's talk about winners, and let's talk about maybe a dark horse that can get a bid that probably would not get one.
Yeah, well, you got to look at right now just the tournament overview as far as the big dance. There's only 3 teams. Really, there's only 2 locks right now to get in the tournament, and that's Arizona and UCLA. And those are the 2 we saw last year, right? The third one could be USC. Right now, they're in Lenardi's last 4 in. They'd be playing like Oklahoma State, an 11 seed versus 11 seed. And I think USC I think Miami beat them last year in the tournament in like a 7-10 matchup.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the Conference of Champions, who only had 3 teams in the tournament last year. Only one of them made it past the Sweet 16. And you're looking at the same thing this year. Garrett mentioned Arizona State maybe being a dark horse. But even teams like, Oregon, we've seen Oregon be a threat in the tournament the last 5 years. They haven't been in recently. You look at the bottom feeder. There's 12 teams in the conference. Only 6 have winning records. Okay. And then you go to the very bottom, you got California, who is probably worse than Louisville. I think California only has 3 or 4 wins on the season too. And so it's not a very good conference. But Arizona's had some big wins, and like we talked about, UCLA has been consistent all year. They're probably going to be a 2 seed. So those are your 2 main bets. But I don't know what you guys think on the dark horses.
I honestly thought Washington State was pretty good at the beginning of the year, but they've kind of been average here lately. I don't know. I think it's still, if I had to choose a team to get in that's probably not in right now, it'd probably be either Arizona State or Oregon. Because Utah's all right, but they're very okay, and I don't think any of these other teams have any of the firepower to even get close to this conference tournament.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. I just don't see it. Like I think you're pretty much down to USC's probably 50-50. Arizona's getting in. Arizona State's probably about 25-75, getting in about 25%. And then Oregon and Utah are just like they have to win their conference tournament pretty much. And I don't know if they can. Those are the only 2 that possibly could, that are not, that have no chance of getting like a bid, just a bid before. I don't know. I just don't see like any of these bottom feeders really playing.
I don't either. I think that Arizona State is the kind of team I was looking for. Really, is the only team that could make it. That's kind of on the outside looking in, maybe a little bit. And
Oregon probably could.
I think Oregon could, but I think Arizona State, to me, has a better chance. Just my opinion. But
oh yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, just because that you get a quad 1 win, big win, conference win over Arizona, late. That makes the committee kind of look at it and say, man, they're kind of coming along here. Let's maybe get them in, the last 4 in, like Fisher's talking about, or something like that. But I'll tell you something right now. I think this is a take by me. I think UCLA. I have bet them as one of my futures to win the national championship. Um, I think they're that good of a team. I think Nick Cronin is a top three, top at least top five coach in the nation. I really like his kind of Midwest grittiness in that LA sort of atmosphere. A lot of people didn't think that kind of mix would gel in that flashy LA style at UCLA. But I do like the toughness and the grit that he brings from. Pretty sure he's at Xavier, right? Or he was at one of those schools, or Cincinnati maybe. But he's from like Ohio area, and so just that Midwest grittiness, that Midwest old style basketball mindset into UCLA. I really enjoy that. So I like Mick Cronin a lot, but I do have UCLA coming out of this as the winner of the Pac-12 tournament, and making a deep run into the big dance.
Yeah, I think we can all agree UCLA I think should be the favorite in this one.
I don't think it's particularly
It's-
close.
I don't think Arizona my problem with Arizona is their defense, man. I mean I guess you could they're 58th in KenPom, but
I mean, I just don't like at some point, like I get they have veteran guards and I get it, but at some point, like you just can't they're not consistent on they're kind of inconsistent sometimes. And I just don't trust them to, whatever 5-6 games, especially in March Madness. But you think, you're probably going to be a 2 seed in the Pac-12 tournament, and you play UCLA. I just don't I don't trust you in the big moment, especially I don't care if you're older or a veteran guard like Mick Cronin and that team that plays great defense is going to just eat you up. I mean,
I'm gonna mention this like I generally do. I'm just not a huge fan of the teams that play with the super fast tempo because I feel like they just don't go in the tournaments. They just don't go near as far. However, it matters toward the end. And like Arizona having being seventh in the nation in tempo and then being 58th in defense just does not translate well. Like I mean, I get it. You're pretty solid on offense, but if you're cold for just a little bit, their defense does not make up for it. It's just like Tennessee. You know what I mean? Except Tennessee's defense is the opposite. Their offense just sometimes gets so cold that their defense can't hold up and they're just getting free. You know, I mean, if you don't make a basket, you just let them go down, and they can almost go before you're set. So I mean, it's one of those things. I don't like the tempo that Arizona goes with. I think UCLA plays with a much better tempo.
right. No, I agree.
I will
Go
I will
ahead.
say with Arizona, so they're right now the odds I'm looking at, they're plus 185 to win the tournament. UCLA is at plus 105. Arizona, I mean, we talked about their inconsistency, but I think you got to look at back that their non-conference schedule because it's tough to tell sometimes with this weak Pac-12 exactly what we're looking at. Arizona we saw them beat Tennessee, we saw them beat Creighton, San Diego State, Indiana was another one. Now all of those weren't true road games. Some of them were home games. I think a few of them were those little tournament games. But they show that they're capable of beating just about anybody. So I think we should remember that, and I think they're very worthy of a 2 seed. I can see them making a deep run.
I'll put it this way: I would be scared to face Arizona as a top team just because they fly. You know what I mean? Like you got to keep up with their tempo sometimes, and you have to slow them down. But I don't see them going very far in the tournament. Like they're also a team that can get knocked out by a lower seed. Yeah, I mean, like they're one of those teams. Is how I would explain it.
Yeah, I agree. Um, if we're done with the Big 12, we can transition over. Not a very strong conference to start out with, but
Big 12. Don't hate on them.
Pac-12, excuse me. We're done talking Pac-12. We can transition over to maybe a little stronger conference in the SEC.
Yes.
And so, and I'll start off. And listen, I'm always going to be a fan of the Must Bus, but I don't know. I mean, they're in the tournament. I think they have a chance to win this SEC tournament, but I I know you guys are going to absolutely be flabbergasted by this team that I'm about to pick to win because I don't particularly like their coach, and that is Kentucky Wildcats. Um, they're playing good basketball right now. And at the first of the year, you're saying, what's going on with Kentucky? They're losing. What's going on? Right now, they're 20-9, which is not particularly in a bad spot. Again, we talked about Tennessee, Missouri, maybe a little dark horse to win the tournament. They're pretty good. But listen, I know Alabama's 25-4, 15-1 in conference, 14-0 at home. But eventually, this stuff is going to catch up, I think, that's going on in the program. Look, I mean, whether anything happened with Miller or not, whatever, that's not my like kind of thing to judge or whatever. But that stuff, that's very serious stuff that's happened off the court is gonna, I think, translate on the court. I get he had 41 against South Carolina, but they still almost lost the game. And they just barely beat Arkansas by 2. And so I think eventually it's going to catch up to him, and it might be catching up to him at the wrong time, I think. And I like Nate Oates, but again, like Arizona, they play a fast style play, barely any mid-range shots, just threes and layups, pretty much dunks, very fast pace, I believe. And so I just don't think that's going to translate. My pick here would be Kentucky to win the SEC.
I'm not going to disagree with that one bit. I like that one. I will throw out, and you're probably not going to be as big a fan of this one, but I'm a big. I kind of like Texas A&M. Kind of like Texas A&M what they've been doing here lately. I mean, they've lost 3 games. They lost to Arkansas, they lost to Kentucky, they lost to Mississippi State. But I mean, they've been consistent, man. And the thing that I like about this team is that I mean, they're not huge in the scoring department, but they defend well, and they're pretty solid. So I don't know, that'd probably be my like pick to win it, because I don't trust Alabama obviously right now with the what Tyler was talking about. But my sleeper pick, which I'm surprised Tyler didn't say this, is Arkansas. I will explain to you
I
exactly
literally
why
said
that
that's the
is.
first thing I said.
Arkansas.
Literally the
Oh, I
first thing
know.
I said.
Okay, well, anyways, so that's Tyler's sleeper pick. I'll explain to you why Arkansas is my sleeper pick. Arkansas is ranked 15th on KenPom. They're the highest besides Alabama out of all the SEC teams. They are 49th in offense, 11th in defense, but they have 57 picks. And that's kind of like, I kind of like 57 pace area, because like if you pay like anything between like 50 and 200 is like medium pace. And because they're all like really close within like 1 or 2 possessions per game. And I don't know. I just really like this Arkansas team. I mean, you just saw them play Alabama close, and I don't know. I like the must bus. I will admit I like the must bus a little bit too much going into this tournament right now.
That gets the locker room fired up a little bit. Must gets the locker room going. Go ahead, Fish.
It doesn't get the locker room on Jameson Boulevard fired up. I like Texas A&M. I saw they just snuck into your KenPom top 25, Garrett, at number 25, at least on the one I have. Buzz Williams has
Yep.
his program going. Okay, we saw last year they made a little run.
Didn't they win
They
Didn't they win
no,
the
Tennessee beat them on
They-
Sunday, but that was the topic of discussion where
They didn't make
did
it.
the bracket makers, did the committee have the bracket out already? Was one of
They,
those things like, and did they not include A&M? Were they going to have to remake it if A&M actually won the game? Should they have included A&M anyway because they made a run? Like that was a huge controversy last year.
Texas
And
A&M deserved to be in it last year. I'm just gonna put my 2 cents in.
yeah, I think they did. And
You
one
can
of
go
them,
back. You can go back in the podcast. We definitely talked about it. I remember saying
We
that.
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
oh,
Because I remember
touched on it,
going on a rant because the Sunday games have to matter, or the Saturday
it
games.
has to matter. Exactly. And we talked, and I ranted a bit on Michigan and how Michigan didn't deserve it, and Michigan ended up beating Tennessee and went to the Sweet 16 or whatever. But look, I like A&M. I like where this program's going. They're not used to being a basketball school, at least in recent years. And the games are fun to watch. The atmosphere, you can tell, is electric there. So I like A&M. I think that it's good value. And look, Alabama, I'm with you there. I mean, you got Mark Sears, you got a few other guys on that team that are going to need to step up. I think it's just a big distraction right now with Brandon Miller, and he's an awesome player. And it kind of sucks to see him, whether he did it or not. It sucks to see this situation, maybe that talent being wasted. We'll see what happens with it. And then again, the Vols. I don't know, man. Slick Rick's going to have to cook something up on offense because it's just not working. And I've talked about it before. Their big man, he's shooting 41% from the free throw line this year.
That's not great.
So, hack a Shaq, you're like, oh, hey, that's good. But Euros Plavsic is not Shaquille O'Neal. Okay. I mean, he's okay. He's not giving you a ton on offense. He's gritty on defense, but he gets a lot of technical fouls too. So the big man gap is there for Tennessee. The guards haven't been able to make up for it on offense. So give me A&M. And I do like Kentucky because Calipari is not a great coach, but they're always going to have talent at Kentucky. And sometimes talent really does matter. And they can make a deep run just because of, the 4 stars they have on their team.
So my pick
Just
is,
a reminder.
and then Gary, Texas A&M. What's yours, Fish?
To win the tournament?
Yeah.
It's A&M. Texas A&M.
2 A&M, 1 Kentucky. No Alabama.
A&M's coming for the revenge.
This is a
They lost.
anti-murder podcast. All right.
Dude, A&M, like they're at the point where they're like they don't even know if they're in right now. But like after last year, they don't even know if they're in right now. Like they have to win that tournament to make sure they're in.
A little chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, they got a little chip on their shoulder. They went the NIT, made all the way to the championship, lost to Xavier last year. They were ticked off. I'm gonna be completely honest with you.
I would be too. They should have been in. All right. Anything else on the college basketball? Can I tell you something? Purdue sucks. Matt Painter is one of the worst coaches I've ever seen in my life. Just a Purdue hate this year. I don't know what team I hated that much last year, but Purdue's on my hate list this year. Lost 3 out of 5. The last lost 3 out of 5 games. Not great for the program. Purdue's not it.
I'm just gonna just throw it out there. The Mountain West game tomorrow, big game. San Diego State at Boise State. If I'm being completely honest with you, there's like 4 teams in the Mountain West that should be in the tournament. If you ask me, I mean, I can argue that. Let me pull up what teams I had.
While he's looking that up, Kobe Brown and the Missouri Tigers. That's a team you don't want to face in the SEC tournament or the Big Dance. Right now, they're projected at a 10 seed. They've won a few games on buzzer beaters. One of them against my Vols, but they're gritty, and a lot of people are doubting them, counting them out with that new coach. But they're rolling. They're in the tournament right now. Team you don't want to face.
Yeah, I'm just going to repeat what I said. So San Diego State obviously deserves to be in the tournament. If you ask me, Boise State, they've been killer this year. I mean that's who plays tomorrow. Those 2 I think deserve to be in the NCAA tournament no matter what. And then I think if Nevada and Utah State finish the year pretty strong and only lose to San Diego State and Boise State, I feel like those 2 arguably deserve to be in it too. So I mean, I'm just I've enjoyed watching Mountain West basketball this year, and I don't normally say that, but I have tuned into a lot of games just because of how fun it's been to watch those teams up there. I will admit that. You guys have any picks for tomorrow? Any locks that we didn't mention?
Gonna have to dig deep in the well here. I know they didn't like it. You guys didn't like it, but the lock is Arizona, or not Arizona, Arkansas. It's plus 6.5 now. It's already moved back down towards Arkansas's way, but I like Arkansas plus 6.5. Sorry, Fish, but Arkansas plus 6.5, and the lock of the day today. All right, I'm just gonna be honest with you. Baylor -1 at Oklahoma State. I mean, what are we doing here? I mean, Baylor is winning 67-54 with a minute and a half left. I mean, that's just an absolute lock. Good game to get on. Good game to catch. Line there because Baylor's just way better than Oklahoma State, I think, my opinion. But anyway, anything else on college basketball?
Let's see. I was trying to decide which one I wanted to go to, but I'm gonna take Texas State -4.5 over Georgia State at home tomorrow. Like that one a lot. No, honestly. Or be my pick. POD, the play of the day.
This isn't a real. So if you're following this, don't really take this, but this is a I've seen this guy coach pick. I got Seton Hall plus 1.5
I do like that one too.
against
I
Villanova.
actually like the money line.
All right, Seton Hall money line. Holloway, Coach Holloway. We love us some Coach Holloways. All right, and so we're
Yes, we do.
gonna get the locker room fired up. We're gonna outcoach Villanova. We're gonna get the win. Seton Hall money line, guys. I think that wraps up college basketball. Slick Rick's gonna get the job done. I fist bumped him. He's gonna get the job done. I'm gonna email him some offensive sets. Maybe that can work.
Oh man, we need it.
I'm gonna email him. All right. He gave me his card when I saw him at the tournament last year. I'm gonna email him, give him some sets. We're gonna get the offense going. Tennessee to win it all. Rocky Top. We'll see you guys next time. Bet responsibly.